and welcome back to Inspiring Movements, the Jim's Gym podcast, helping people to take positive steps to move more, feel better, and live well as we get a little bit older. Today's episode is about something completely different. It's about money. And I'm joined by Dave Southby, a financial planner who spends his days helping people make sense of their finances and plan for the life that they want. It's really quite interesting and quite cool too. We talk about pensions, ISAs, saving for the grandchildren, inheritance, the cost of living, and why keeping fit might just be the best thing you can do for your money. It will make sense when you listen to the podcast. Just a quick one before we start. Everything in this episode is general information. It's not financial advice. Everyone's circumstances are different. So before making any financial decisions, please speak to a qualified financial advisor about your own situation. Dave's a great guy. Maybe get in touch with him. His details are in the description. Right. Anyway, let's get into it. Good afternoon, Dave. Welcome onto the Jim's Gym Inspiring Movement podcast.
Thank you very much. Very, very pleased to be here. Thank you.
Great. A little bit of a different conversation to be had today. I'm going to start with actually just a little bit of background for the listeners. Is actually, and I feel like I think we should talk about it. Is that I think it was about 2 years ago now that we actually met on a podcasting creation course.
Yeah,
that's the course. I think Fiona would make go calling it a course.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we were paired together as well, weren't we? When we were doing the all the activities and things like that. It was good fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So listeners, be prepared. 2 pros here.
Oh, wow.
How's your podcast career going since then?
Not as well as yours. I haven't started it just yet. It was still very much in the planning. It's very much in the planning stage, but
that's right.
It is certainly something that we're going to look at trying to do in the near future, I think. So
good. Well, I might save you a job today because I've got so many questions for you.
Brilliant.
I was doing this earlier, and I obviously I do my own little bit of research before I speak to my guests, and sometimes I kind of go, where am I going to go with this? And today I've got so much. We're not going to be able to get through it all, I don't think, but it's actually a really interesting topic. You are a financial planner. And I thought that was quite a cool topic of conversation to be had because I think I've kind of lived. I think I live with a bit of financial anxiety, and I'm not sure. I think everyone does, especially in today's world, cost of living and all that kind of jazz. And I think as we age, not only from my listeners' perspective of being a little bit older and thinking about their own finances, but I also quite think today we'll talk a little bit, hopefully, about perhaps saving for their children or grandchildren. I think that's quite an interesting topic. So I've got loads to talk about. How did you get into this?
So I started Self-Inco about 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, end of next month, actually, we launched the business. So big milestone coming up. But prior to doing this, I was so I worked in the motor trade. And so I basically was in sort of sales. Used to work for Land Rover, which was brilliant. Cars were amazing. And I was dealing with people every day, which was, which is what I really like doing. And over time, as I sort of worked my way up within the dealership, I started moving into more of the sort of finance manager roles. And so then I was a finance manager for a few years. And it kind of just got from there, really. I've always been really interested in finance, but I also really love helping people. And it kind of went hand in hand. And I started looking at careers which were maybe a bit more professional than sort of the motor trade. And I said, I don't want to put the motor trade down at all, but something which is kind of the next steps. And I sort of come across financial advice and financial advisor, and it kind of ticked all the boxes, really, kind of, dealing with people and then obviously helping them sort of achieve their goals. And if it kind of, the fit was, the fit was perfect. So, and then COVID came along, and like most people, like whole population, I thought, well, okay, well, maybe it's time to, start doing something else. And so I did all my exams in 2021 and started my business.
Fantastic. I love the fact that you've gone from irresponsible financial planner by selling people nice cars to responsible financial planner.
Yeah. I still have that fun with that, but which is good because I can still say to clients that you can that you can afford it. But yeah, like most people, for a Land Rover or Range Rover isn't the most financially savvy decision that someone can make.
Not an investment.
Exactly.
Good. Well, I like it, and I especially hang on to your words. You like to help people. I think
Yeah.
that is great, and from a very different sort of sector. Likewise, and it's important, and I think this is a really important topic. What? Okay, just like top line stuff. We've got accountants, we've got bookkeepers, we've got financial planners, we've got advisors. Where do you sit in all of this? What is your actual sort of job?
Yeah, and it's a really good question, and I guess I very much work with an individual, and we look at investments, pensions, with sort of retirement planning. But I guess sort of as a high level, we're different to accountants, which will do your end of year books, and obviously we do your tax returns. They'll speak to HMRC. We kind of don't deal with that. We deal very much with the individual. So if an individual wants to, have goals of retiring at a certain age, or they want to leave a legacy for their children, or they want to be sort of more tax efficient and they want to protect themselves, we kind of, I guess, take that and then look at what solutions are available, and then sort of continually monitor them on their journey towards those goals and make any kind of tweaks and adjustments where needed. So I like to think that, our role as a financial planner is to kind of, to really help people achieve their goals, their dreams, their aspirations. But we do that then through a very number of obviously different products, which, like pensions, ISAs, and, various other things like that.
Okay. Good. Got questions on both of those things later.
Good.
And I guess, what is it ever too late to work with a financial planner?
No, absolutely not. We deal with people in all stages of life. We've got children which have kind of just starting to manage money on their own, so they've had investments set up by their parents and they're 18 years old. We've got clients which have just started talking to us and they're in their sort of mid-70s. But again, completely different parts in their life, different reasonings as to why they've reached out. And so no, not at all. I think that you can be in any stage in your life and have questions or concerns or be anxious about the decisions that you then need to make. And sometimes that can be from an inheritance. So you might be absolutely fine for your whole life, then you have an inheritance, you have sort of lump sum of money. All of a sudden, that decision into what to do with it can feel a bit overwhelming, and you kind of just want to speak to someone and kind of point you in the right direction to make sure you're doing the right thing with it.
Yeah. Okay. And going on that children thing, I saw something on social media, probably not the best source of information for anything really, to be honest. No. But I saw on social media, I think yesterday, and I thought it was quite interesting. It was like, and it kind of links over to some vices and things. But you mentioned about sort of young people. There's something like, if you add £250 a month to an ISA, like in 30 years, you'll have £500,000.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of advice you're giving? Is that solid? Is that...
Yeah, I mean,
is that
obviously,
sound?
Yeah, there's some really good kind of social media, content that you can put out there. And there's one that I read which I quite like, and it's because you can set up pensions for children. So if you set up a pension for a child when they're born, and you can put in up to £3,600 into that pension, by the time they're 60, they'll be a millionaire, depending on depending on how much obviously that grows within that period of time. So, and again, there's all of these kind of things that kind of catch your eye and stuff. But to be honest, it all comes down to the individual, and obviously what you're looking to try and achieve. I think everyone wants to grow their money as obviously much as possible, but sometimes it can almost go the other way around. Some people get to a certain age and they're scared to spend the money that they've got, and they actually need someone to say you're going to be okay, spending that money on that holiday or spending a little bit more per month. And sometimes it almost goes the other way. You need someone to help you kind of realize that you are allowed and you are able to, spend money without feeling like you're going to run out. So it does kind of go in kind of both ends, but yeah. So I try and steer clear as much as I can as that kind of, the social media stuff. Obviously, it's very hard to give financial advice without knowing circumstances. But yeah, there are a couple of obviously high level stuff that you can that you can put out there, and and it's all correct to to a certain point.
Professional answer. I like it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, I guess everyone is an individual. Everyone has their own circumstances. Just going on, just going back to the ISAs though, like, obviously, and actually our grandparents, well, my kids' grandparents, they give money to our kids, small amount every month. ISAs, they're sort of, is that a safe place to put money? Is that an advisable place to put money? Is it a good thing to be doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as a very, very high level, without kind of giving advice and telling people what they should and shouldn't do, ISAs are probably one of the first places that you should look. And any growth is then tax free. So it's from a tax efficiency point of view, you should really be looking to maximise ISAs as a sort of a first point of call, because it just protects it and shields it from tax. Now, I know there's been a few things in the news about there being, are ISAs potentially going to be taxed, and there is kind of now coming from, that cash held within the stocks and shares ISA is now going to be taxed. But they're kind of small nuances. Really, ISA should still be the first place to look. And if you're investing money for children, obviously there's kind of two trails of thought to it. So you can invest in your own stocks and shares ISA and hold it for your children, or you can invest it in a junior ISA. And then obviously, it's their money and it's earmarked for them. And the difference is obviously when they get to 18, that money then becomes theirs. So it depends on how much control you want as a parent as to kind of when and what they're going to want to spend that money on. And so that will then depend on kind of, I guess, what sort of ISA you'll be looking at, whether you put it in your own name or whether you want to put it obviously in their name. So, and again, that's, I guess, where the element of the advice comes in, because it's the conversation and thinking about these different scenarios, which then might differ depending on, comparison to person.
Okay. Well, generally speaking, then, so that would be sort of a more productive way to put more place to put money, opposed to like sort of the general bank account.
Yeah, absolutely. You tend to find you can get more interest in a general bank account because obviously it's, but you have to then potentially pay tax too. But there are some really good cash ISA rates if you're looking to put cash in, or obviously if you're looking to invest, then again, a stocks and shares ISA is a really, really good place to start.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. There you are. So grandparents, parents, ISAs. Well, unless you
potentially, but yeah,
should have a conversation. Potentially. This is not financial advice. This is don't take my financial advice.
Yeah, this is not financial advice, but maybe you should look at that first.
No, and actually, I should probably put more context to this. Is that actually we don't have an ISA for our kids. Our grandparents put money into a bank account, but I've been sort of meaning to sort of look at ISAs for a while. So
yeah, and I guess, and my son Fanny, he's 2. We set up an ISA for him when he was born. But we decided to put it in our name, it's in my wife's name, as opposed to having a junior ISA for him. Sure. And because we felt that we wanted a little bit more control over when he had that money and for what. And so, whereas obviously if it's in a junior ISA, he'll have it when he was 18. I remember when I was 18, and we want to set him up for a house deposit. And so we thought, setting up an ISA in sort of stocks and shares ISA in our own name was a better solution, better way of doing it for us. But like I said, everyone's different. So, but it depends on really sort of how much control and how much sort of education and how much trust you wanted to give them.
Okay, nice, very good. Sort of bridging over to sort of pensions, and obviously that's something that you advise on as well.
Yeah,
and my pension. I mean, I've been self-employed for sort of 6-7 years now, so it's a bit murky. and before that, I have
absolutely.
At some point, I'll get around to sorting that out. But actually, I mean, on that, I have 3 or 4, I think, from employers. And again, like reading this week, is it better to should we consolidate those pensions? Is that a good idea, or should
Again, so consolidating pensions is something that I think we get asked quite a lot. What you need to do is you need to do the due diligence as to is it right for you to put the pensions together. Now, if you've got lots of different pension schemes, and if they are from a while ago. And when I say a while ago, obviously we've got people that have had pensions from like the 80s, the 90s. Now that was a weird and wonderful place in financial services. So there's potentially kind of very valuable benefits attached to those pensions that you might lose if you consolidated them. So doing your due diligence or speaking to an advisor that effectively will help you with that due diligence will help you understand whether if you move something, would you lose something, which is obviously a very, very valuable benefit. And from the point of, I guess, just ease of management, consolidating them, yes, absolutely. From an ease of management going forward, making one decision. If something happens to you, there's only one pot the family needs to deal with. From that side of things, from a management perspective, it is much easier. But every provider has different fees. Every provider will have, as I said, potentially, different benefits that you might lose if you move them. So yes, I guess in the short answer, but you need to make sure that you do the due diligence that you're not going to lose anything that you should have, that you should have kept.
Yeah. Okay. And then, in terms of, I guess I have to be on. I'm quite ignorant around sort of pensions and things. Is it all automated? Is there a better way to structure the payments? Is there anything that you come up against that can be sort of good advice for people trying to organise their pension finance?
I think that probably the most important thing that quite a lot of people fall short on this is that just know where they are. Just have a list, write down where the pension providers are, and just know what you've got. And that's the first step in trying to understand what the future looks like, what we're doing in terms of kind of, do we consolidate, do we not? The first thing you need to do is just make a list of where they all are, who the providers are, and obviously what they are worth or what they mean from a benefit perspective. Once you've got those together, you can then start making a decision in terms of, okay, well, now what do we do with them? But that then comes down to the individual, because, people want to retire at different times. They might want to take your statutory cash. You might want to use that to, pay off a mortgage or go on a once in a lifetime holiday. What sort of incomes you need, there's this where I think a lot of people then get a financial advisor involved, because it's very hard to see all of these bits of paperwork that you have, and you're okay, well, this is this, and this is this, this is this. But what does it all mean not necessarily physically put them together, but as a plan, what does it mean when you put them all together? And I guess it's kind of like really similar to, it's really similar to, to being a PT, we look at what your goals are, what you're looking to try and achieve, and we kind of take where you are and what level of sort of, what level of fitness you are, what you've got in terms of provisions, and we put together a tailored plan to then say, okay, well, if you follow this and if we can do these, then obviously this is where you can get to in the future. And the plan changed, right? People get injured, people change, your health changes. Your circumstances change, and that's, I guess, the idea of like just making sure that you're just regularly reviewing what you've got, because the only guarantee is that the plan is going to change, because you and your circumstances will change at some point. So you just need to make sure that what you are doing is aligned to your new goals.
Yeah, I have to say, for like someone like myself, I think, it's about just if everything's in your head, or like, it's like, I want to do that thing, it's easy to not do those things. I think, especially around like the fear of spending, like, I think that's really interesting and real thing with everything that are sort of, the cost of living at the moment is so expensive. I often, sorry, sideline here. I often think about, like, if you are on minimum wage, maybe, you have a kid or two and two parent minimum wage, like, how do people survive at the moment? And in this day and age, it's really tough. And then of course, and I think there's so much noise in the news constantly about, cost of living, and if you don't have a plan, it's much easier to be more reserved, and you think you perhaps need to be.
Yeah.
And I guess we want to encourage people to be doing all the things that they want to be doing.
Yeah. And I totally agree with that. And I think that, I think when you're earning and when you've got to pay to, and you've got obviously that wage coming in every single month, it's easy to kind of, if you just kind of keep going. But I think when you do get to retirement and you've got a pot, and that pot needs to last you for the rest of your life, I think sometimes that can be quite daunting to start seeing that pot going down. But I'm also a big believer at that. Life. I think life's for living, and your money it buys you experiences, it buys you time, and or it buys you that legacy that you're looking for. So it's trying to change that narrative with what you've got and trying to turn it into what you really want it to do for you, which is those memories, those experiences, that maybe, setting your children up, all of those things is what money can buy. And that's about that. That's obviously trying to help, that individual to try and, I guess, put that in their heads and obviously change the perspective on it. But yeah, I mean, obviously the cost of living is been really hard hitting. That we've had, quite a lot of tax rises in the last sort of few years, and everything seems to be kind of going up quicker than what salaries are going up. And you're right, it is really hard, and it's hard to also make those decisions to plan for the long term, and you're still trying to kind of do fight that day to day and sort of spending. And so even if you're putting a little bit into the future, that will still help and still put you in a much better place than obviously not doing anything.
Yeah, of course. And I guess as well, on top of that, I suppose, as people become, they want to leave something for their children, in inheritance. What's the sort of general rule of thumb, before you get taxed on inheritance at this time? I mean, we've obviously got a new prime minister as well. Is there any big changes that he's making to make life easier for people?
Not making life easier.
Just yet.
Not yet. I mean, obviously, and we haven't had. So normally we have a budget, which comes sort of October, November time. Last year it was November, which was quite late. But normally it's October. We tend to get a few leaks a few weeks before that budget comes up. They're trying to test out some of the kind of plans that they're looking to put in place. They're trying to test out what the public are potentially going to, think of it. We haven't heard anything just yet. So at the moment, an individual has £325,000 that you can pass on to someone. So that's your inheritance tax allowance. If you pass it to a spouse, so if you pass it from husband to wife, or from, if you're in a civil partnership, then they will receive everything inheritance tax free, and they also receive that allowance as well. So then they have £650,000 to pass down to their, children or whoever.
Oh, right.
So,
okay.
And if you're then passing a property, so a house, to a direct descendant, so passing your house to your kids, basically, and then you get another 175,000 each. So a married couple or someone in a civil partnership, assuming that everything gets passed to each other on first death, on second death, they have £1 million to be able to pass down to, children without paying any inheritance tax.
That is, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it makes a lot of odds to me. But that is far higher number than I thought. I thought it was the 325. That was it, and then anything above that, it was it was the 40. Was it 40? Okay.
No, it's £1 million now. Obviously, the difficulty is that that's been frozen for quite a few years. The plan is probably to keep it frozen for another few years, but property values are going up. As of April next year, pensions will be part of that calculation as well. So at the moment, pensions are outside of your estate from an inheritance tax perspective. As of April 2027, so probably better off time stamping that. And then pensions will form part of your estate from an inheritance tax perspective as well. So, if you've got pensions, or if you've inherited the money, or you've got maybe, quite a large residential property, it can get eaten up quite quickly. But, the government do say that, in reality, it does only impact, a fairly, small number. But with pensions coming in, obviously that will increase quite as significantly because people do hold a lot of money in their pensions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And what, I mean, is there, I know, I mean, this is not about, will get you in trouble, like avoiding tax. Absolutely not.
Oh God,
But I mean, that, you often hear about the 7-year gift thing. Is
yeah,
that,
yeah.
is there,
Yeah, you can. So if you gift money, then obviously you got to live more than 7 years, and then obviously it's outside of your estate. There are lots of things that you can do, and there's lots of planning that can be done around legacy planning, particularly if you're receiving an inheritance yourself, and and there's obviously more money coming into your estate. There is a lot of planning that can be done with it, but again, it's all very much individual, and it all comes down to sort of your own circumstances as well. So, yes, I can kind of just say that there are certainly things that you can do. There's certainly plans that you can do, and if you want to explore those, I would suggest that you probably reach out to a financial advisor. But one of the kind of small things that you can make sure that you have in place, which will help from a finance perspective, will be make sure you have a will. Make sure you have an up-to-date will, and that is works for your circumstances and what you want to do. And have a look at power of attorney, because if something happens to you, particularly in later life, then you want to make sure that your loved ones are able to have control of your money and be able to help you in a timely fashion. And and then I guess it also goes on to pensions. So all pensions have, you can have like an expression of wishes, or you have sort of the beneficiaries, so make sure they're all up to date. There are a few things that you can do, but it all comes down to whether you're close to that £1 million threshold or you feel you're going to be. That's when you need to be thinking, okay, well, maybe there is going to be stuff that we need to potentially do.
All difficult topics, aren't they? And I actually had
it is. I mean, I find it really fascinating. And I've been, I've got the privilege of being very close to families talking about all of these subjects. And, I find it's fantastic for me to be able to feel like I'm helping people, which obviously don't sort of understand it. But what I normally say to clients with sort of inheritance tax is there's kind of 4 options that we've got. We can, we can insure against it. So you can obviously take out a life insurance to cover the cost of an inheritance tax liability.
Oh, right. Okay.
You can give it away. You can spend it, which I find most people like the sound of. Like just enjoy it, go out and spend it. And then the other option is that you don't do anything about it. Some people have a view that you go, okay, well, they're going to be getting an inheritance, then if they pay a little bit of tax, and so be it. So, and there's kind of those 4 options that you then can work backwards to decide which one of those. Now, there are obviously lots of schemes and, policies and product that you can do within those, but they're the kind of very high level 4 basic, I guess, options that you have when you're looking at inheritance tax. So...
okay, yeah, no, really interesting. Sorry, I'm kind of thinking about all that, and it's quite, because it is complicated, right? And actually, I'm just really, I've always been dialed into the idea of having a financial, and I guess actually it's a good question. I guess dialed into having a financial advisor. I thought it was, for the best part, it was always kind of reserved for people, wealthy people. I mean, did you have to be? What does your financial situation have to be like to be able to engage in someone like the services of someone like yourself?
We speak to people from all walks of life, and it doesn't matter kind of where you're from, how much money you've got. We pride ourselves in being able to, we can speak to anyone. And a lot of financial advisors are like that out there. You don't need to have money or wealth, as kind of what people think, to be able to reach out and speak to a financial advisor, because you'll be amazed about how much you don't know what you don't know. So having a conversation with someone that just listens to your circumstances, listens to kind of where you want to be in life and what your goals and what your aspirations are, and then just having someone just kind of bounce ideas off of you and kind of just say, okay, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about doing this? That can really help. And that doesn't mean that you employ a financial advisor and work with them indefinitely. That can just be a single meeting, but you can still get a lot out of it. So I would say that, yeah, it makes absolutely no difference, how much money that you've got. Most financial advisors, will add so much, to, your life, and you don't necessarily need lots of wealth to be able to access that.
Okay, nice. There we go. All right, question
Uh,
answered. I think I have one question. This is, you might not know anything about this, but I'm assuming you might have
okay,
somewhat.
try me.
Like, especially for people that I generally work with, and listeners over 55s, I think becomes really quite, and everything actually, you're always hearing about scams,
Yeah.
financial scams. Is there any, I guess, advice that you can give around this? Is there what involvement do you have around financial scams online? I guess, is there?
Yeah, I mean no, it's a really good it's a really good it's a really good point to raise, I guess. So working with so financial advisors in the UK have to be regulated, and so if you're working with a financial advisor or you're going to approach a financial advisor, they will or should all be on the FCA register. So that advisor or that firm will be registered, so you'll know at least that they are under the FCA, which is obviously our governing body. But I do find, and I have had this generally, is that we've detected a few people from scams because they get rang up and said, oh, that they need money for this, or I've had this come through, is this correct? And they send it to us, and we can help them go, well, no, that's you don't want to do that, or if someone wants to, we kind of call people, verify to make sure that make sure that they are who they are, if they want to take money out. So it's just, I guess we're that kind of extra layer of kind of oversight, that we're there. If someone feels like something isn't quite right, then you've got a regulated person that can help you in deciding whether it's, whether it is a scam or not.
Yeah,
And that just, we're just there to try and, we've got the client interest at best. And,
yeah. I was thinking that as well, like, people that, perhaps they live on their own, or they have a very small family network. Like, there's huge value in where do you turn if you have a, if you feel like you've been approached by something that doesn't feel all that legitimate, and actually it's another good reason to get in touch with someone like yourself. I mean, I kind of tried to do my best here with like sort of top line stuff that I think people will be interested in, but also things that I'm interested in too, which is quite selfish of me today, but it is interesting. I've been really interested. Is there anything that I've missed that you think is really important for people to sort of know about in the financial world, or think about, or actionable advice, I suppose?
yeah. And I mean, I'm a big believer in kind of you using your money to obviously enhance your life. Now, whether that's experiences, but I'm also, sort of a big believer in trying to, that also means, going to a gym, keeping fit. And, there's two things you need to really enjoy your later years. And retirement isn't retirement, you stop work. Retirement is now, a bit of a blurred kind of approach where, and you might go down to part-time, you might finish work and start volunteering or get involved. So like, people kind of dip in and out, but you need wealth, but you need your health more than anything. And and it's about, I think it's about how can you then start using that sort of wealth that you've built up to ultimately then also then improve your health as well. I guess what we're all striving towards is increasing that sort of health expectancy, right? We want to try and increase that health expectancy. We want to be able to move. We want to kind of do everything that we want to do in life for as long as possible. And, I think that your money can play a big part in that. And whether that's obviously, going to gym, or, getting someone to help you around the house a little bit more so you can kind of, enjoy the things that you do enjoy doing. And it's just about trying to have that kind of sitting down and just understanding, okay, well, what do I really want from life? And I've got this money, and how can I get this money, or how can I get my money or my income that I've got? How can I get that to maximize what I am really trying to achieve in my, in my lifetime? And as part of that, like I said, is also trying to make sure that you are sort of as fit as possible as well. And sometimes, you pay for, you go to a gym, pay for a PT. Well, that is actually probably the best investment that you can make, particularly in later life, because that's going to keep you And that's going to obviously keep you going and going to keep you fitter for longer and going to give you more enjoyment than, than obviously having lots of money.
I am eternally grateful for you coming on my podcast and plugging my business.
Oh,
and I know a really cool little online gym which is really affordable. You probably don't need a financial advisor to be able to you can afford.
No, it's true, and it's about. But I'm a really big believer in it. You got to. You get, trying to have the most fulfilling life you possibly can. And, and that looks totally different for everyone else. But, and I do like helping people, get that, but obviously through the financial side of things.
And it's true. I've never really thought of it like that. But actually, yeah, it's all very well having, whether you've got lots of money or you don't have lots of money, you want to have good health. And to be able to either enjoy it or be able to, perhaps help you through some of the more challenging times in your life. I think, it's quite interesting. I've not really thought about it like that. Look, absolutely brilliant to have you on. I'm gonna do a plug for you though, because you are taking on a couple of pretty cool fitness challenges. Obviously you can share this podcast with all your friends and family and people as well. So feel free to plug what you're walking, running a couple of events to raise money for who?
So we're so our 2026 charity of the year is Wiltshire Treehouse. So Wiltshire Treehouse are a children's bereavement charity, which do a lot of work in and around Swindon, but also kind of extending to Wiltshire as well. So and they're an unbelievable charity. So we thought, what better charity, for us this year to sponsor and to support. So on the 4th of September, we are doing a 26-mile walk from Stonehenge to Avebury, and which at the moment I'm dreading, because if the weather stays like this, I think it's gonna be pretty hot. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty hot. And then on the 27th of September, I think, towards the end of the month, and then doing the Swindon Half Marathon as well.
Oh, nice. Go on.
So my first half marathon, I am not a runner. I am not built like a runner. So, but I'm enjoying the training, and I'm getting into it. So like I said, so far, we've our target is to raise £3,000. We're at about £2,000. So for us, for me, if we can get to that target, then, the difference that could potentially make to, a couple of families is unbelievable. And it's well worth all of the pain.
That is a very incredible cause. I will. Will you send me the Just Giving links, and then I'll put them in the bio of this, the description of this podcast. We should have learned how to do this, or what it's all called, in our course, shouldn't we? I'll put it in the description. I'll put the links in the description, and also, so you can share it with everyone as well. But also, and then lastly, but do you work with people online? I mean, all the Jim's Gym members are based all over the place, not even in this country necessarily, but do they have to come to see you personal?
No. We absolutely not. We've got clients all over the country, and a lot of people are happy to obviously do teams online. And since COVID, the world's got a lot smaller, and we can now. It doesn't really matter where you are. You can build a very strong relationship with people. And I got clients that said physically I've never met, but I've been working with them for years, and you still gain a really nice relationship with them. So yeah, and that's
excellent. Okay, we'll be putting the details into in the description. I think it's the description of this podcast.
We'll go with that. I think we'll go with that.
So get in touch with Dave. He's great, lovely chap. Look, Dave, brilliant to have you on. I hope that's been of interest to a lot of people. Certainly have learned a few things there myself. Good luck with your challenges. That you'll smash it, no problem at all. For a great cause too. And maybe I'll come on your podcast. I don't know what I talk about on your podcast.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I want to do the other side of things. I want to talk about how you can then help it kind of increase that sort of longevity, which I'm really believing in with my clients. So but no, it's great. Look, thank you for having me. It's been great fun. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Let me know when it's out in the planning stages.
Yeah, pretty. It'll be a while.
Cheers, Dave. Good. Have a good afternoon. See you later.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We'll be back again in 2 weeks' time with our next incredible guest. In the meantime, don't forget to check out Jim's Gym at www.jimsgym.fitness, where you will find access to 15 live classes every week. It's a fantastic place to get started with your fitness.
especially for people who aren't all that keen on joining a traditional gym. Gym can get fit from home. I'll see you next week.